They said the Joker was finally broken the night they locked him in cell 39, a narrow concrete box where 3 hardened inmates waited like wolves. They laughed when the guards shoved him inside. They mocked his painted smile. They pushed him, humiliated him, beat him until the lights flickered out. But what happened next? What those cellmates saw in the dark, what they heard Joker whisper just before the screaming started, none of them ever spoke about it again. And the security footage from that night? It disappeared before sunrise. If you want more dark, emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see the Joker forever. The guards slammed the iron door so hard the walls trembled, and for a moment, silence filled the cramped cell. Then the sound came, low, mocking, like a rumble brewing beneath rotten floorboards. Laughter, not Joker's. 3 men circled him in the dimness. Their faces were carved by years of violence, their eyes sharp with the kind of cruelty that didn't need a reason. The cell smelled of sweat, old blood, and something close to hatred. "Painted freak," the biggest one muttered, grabbing Joker by the collar and shoving him against the wall. "Where's that smile now, huh?" Joker didn't respond. His hair hung messily over his eyes, his white face paint smeared with dirt. He looked tired, almost fragile, the kind of man no one feared in close quarters. Another inmate flicked his cheek. "What, cat got your tongue? Thought you were supposed to be funny." The third punched him in the ribs twice, then again for good measure. Joker's body folded, but he didn't groan, didn't whimper, didn't fight back. He just stared down at the floor, almost studying the cracks beneath him. And that annoyed them even more. Hours passed, beating, mocking, little speeches about how Gotham's clown wasn't worth the price of his makeup. They made him kneel, they knocked him down. They told him stories of what else they planned to do before sunrise. But through all of it, he remained strangely calm, almost listening, like the violence was a language he understood better than they did. At some point, the overhead lights flickered. A buzzing hum filled the corridor outside. One of the inmates looked up. "Damn old building, place is falling apart." Joker finally raised his head. His lip was split. His nose was bleeding. One eye was already turning dark, but there was something chilling, quietly chilling, in the way he smiled. A slow, crooked smile that didn't match the situation. A smile that wasn't painted on this time. It was real, and that made it worse. "You boys done?" he whispered, voice dry and cracked. The cellmates froze. They'd been hitting a man who hadn't resisted once. But now something in his tone had changed. Something cold, something razor sharp. For the first time, they noticed his eyes. Clear, bright, studying them like puzzles he'd already solved. The biggest inmate scoffed. "Or what? You're gonna giggle us to death?" Joker leaned his head back against the wall and chuckled softly. "Only one of you is smart," he murmured. The men exchanged a confused glance. "But he's not the one in charge," Joker added. A ripple of unease passed through the room. The smallest of the 3 men, a wiry guy with a scar running down his jaw, shifted uncomfortably. "Don't listen to him. He's just trying to psych us out." Joker tapped his finger twice on the floor. 2 hours, he whispered. The big inmate frowned. "What?" "That's how long I've been waiting," Joker said, eyes drifting toward the bars. "People forget time when they're afraid, but I don't." His voice was terribly steady. 2 hours, gentlemen," he repeated, "and still not one of you asked the right question." The scarred inmate stepped forward and kicked him in the thigh. "Shut up." But Joker didn't even flinch. He simply looked up and said, in a voice so light it was almost playful, "You never asked why they put me in here with you." The lights flickered again. This time they didn't come back on. Complete darkness swallowed the cell. Someone cursed. Someone else stepped backward, bumping into the metal bed frame. A hand searched blindly for the wall, and then the sound came. Not laughter, not screaming, just breathing. Slow, steady breathing. Right behind them, one inmate swung wildly in the dark. "Back up! Back the hell up!" But the breathing didn't move. A whisper floated through the darkness, drifting between the 3 men like smoke. "You think I'm here? Because they wanted to punish me?" Something crashed in the corner, metal scraping concrete. One of them stumbled. "No," Joker breathed, his voice inches from someone's ear. "They needed me to fix a problem." Someone finally screamed. The guards outside banged the door. "Everything okay in there?" No answer. Just chaos inside. Footsteps, bodies hitting walls, shouts dissolving into panic. And through all of it, Joker's soft, delighted humming, a tune almost childlike, one that didn't belong in a place drenched with fear. Minutes later, the lights snapped back on, and what the guards saw made them freeze. The three inmates who had towered over Joker earlier were now huddled in separate corners, trembling uncontrollably. Their faces were pale, drenched in sweat, as if they'd seen something in the dark they couldn't explain. The big one kept whispering, "He knew, he knew, he knew." The scarred man refused to look up, muttering, "Don't let him near me. Don't ever, don't please." The third, he was staring at Joker with a look so pure in its terror, it didn't seem human. And there, in the middle of the cell, sitting calmly on the floor, was the Joker. Legs crossed, eyes half closed, face peaceful, as if he'd done nothing at all. When the guards finally dared to speak, one swallowed hard. What did you do to them?" Joker slowly looked up, smiled, and whispered, "I just told the truth." But the guards never asked what that meant, because one of the inmates suddenly started screaming again, this time louder, more desperate. And when Joker stood to stretch his shoulders, all three men flinched, as if a ghost had moved. The warden arrived 10 minutes later, red-faced and furious, boots slamming against the concrete floor as he marched towards cell 39. He hated disruption, hated noise, hated anything that reminded him he was running a prison full of desperate, broken men. But what he hated most was the Joker. When he reached the door, he paused. He could hear whimpering inside, not from Joker, from the others. He turned to the guard. "Open it." The guard hesitated. "Sir, it might not be safe." "Open it," the warden repeated, his jaw tightening. The door groaned as it swung open, and for a moment, the warden simply stood there, staring, confused, unsettled. Three grown men, each violent and feared in their own right, were cowering like children. Joker sat peacefully on the bed, hands folded neatly in his lap, as if he'd been meditating. The warden stepped inside. "Stand up." Joker looked up. "Only if you say please." The warden's face twitched. "You're done here. Pack up." Joker tilted his head. "Oh? Trouble in paradise already?" The warden gestured sharply to the guards. "Take him out." As they grabbed Joker's wrists, the inmates flinched again, physically pulling their legs closer, eyes widening, bodies pressing into the corners, like he was radioactive. Joker noticed. He smiled gently. "Good instincts, boys." The scarred inmate shook his head violently. "Don't bring him back. Don't put him near us again." The warden ignored them and signaled the guards forward. They dragged Joker into the corridor, but the moment they stepped out, Joker stopped walking. Completely stopped. The guards tugged harder. "Move!" Joker didn't budge. Instead, he turned his head and stared down the dim corridor where a few prisoners watched from behind their doors. "You're making a mistake," he muttered, almost to himself. "You always do." The warden stepped closer. "What is that supposed to mean?" Joker looked at him with a softness that was somehow more terrifying than anger. "You put me in a cage with three men you knew were trouble. You thought I'd break. You thought they'd teach me a lesson." He lowered his voice. "But you never asked yourself one thing, Warden." He leaned in, his breath barely above a whisper. "Why were they afraid of the dark?" The warden's eyes narrowed. "Enough. Move him." And they did. They dragged Joker down hallway after hallway, past guards who refused to meet his eyes, past inmates who fell silent as he crossed their line of sight. Each step echoed like a warning. At the processing room, they uncuffed him. Joker stretched his shoulders slowly, like a man enjoying the feeling of freedom, even if it was only freedom of movement. The warden folded his arms. "Your transfer request was approved. Congratulations. You're someone else's problem now." Joker looked amused. "My request?" "Yes. You filed it yourself, through the desk officer." Joker blinked once, then chuckled. "Ah, him." The warden frowned. "What does that mean?" Joker didn't answer. Instead, he walked toward the steel table in the center of the room. His fingerprints had already been processed earlier that week. His mugshot was updated, but something on the table caught his eye. A small silver ring, the kind guards wore. "What's this?" Joker asked, picking it up. "Contraband." the guard muttered. "Confiscated from one of your cellmates." Joker twirled it between his fingers. "Funny, I don't remember them wearing rings." The warden snatched it from his hand. "Enough games." But Joker wasn't listening anymore. His eyes were distant, thoughtful, the way a surgeon's might be before cutting into something delicate. He whispered softly, "People hide the strangest things when they're scared." Before the warden could respond, another guard burst into the room. "Sir, you need to see this. It's urgent." The warden sighed heavily. "What now?" The guard's face was pale. "It's the 3 inmates from cell 39. They're saying they want protective custody." The warden scoffed. "From who?" The guard swallowed. "From him." Joker's grin widened. The warden shook his head. "Ridiculous. What did he do to them?" There was a long pause, and then the guard said quietly, "They said he told them things he couldn't have known. Personal things, secrets. Each one swears he described something that happened before they were ever arrested." The warden stared at Joker. Joker blinked innocently. The room felt colder. "Move him out," the warden finally snapped. "Get him to the transport." They escorted Joker toward the exit. Outside, the prison yard was quiet. The early morning fog hung low and thick, swallowing the world in gray. The transport van waited near the gates, engine rumbling softly. As they guided Joker forward, he suddenly paused again, this time staring directly at the warden through the chain-link fence. "You're wondering," he said softly, "about the lights." The warden stiffened. "You think it was a coincidence they went out," Joker murmured. "You think I planned something." He took a step closer to the fence. "But the truth is much simpler," he whispered. The warden frowned. "What truth?" Joker gave him that same small, unsettling smile he'd worn in the dark cell. "They weren't afraid of me," he said. "Not really." He turned his head, looking off into the fog, toward nothing, toward everything. They were afraid of what the dark showed them. The warden felt a chill race up his spine. "What did they see?" Joker tapped the fence lightly with one finger. "I didn't see it," he said. "I only heard it." He leaned close, voice barely audible, but they all described the same thing. The warden's breath hitched. "What?" Joker whispered. "A man who wasn't me." The guard grabbed Joker's arm. "Let's go." Joker stepped toward the van, but just before climbing inside, he turned one last time. Eyes locked on the warden. Smile barely there, voice soft enough to sound almost sympathetic. "You should check cell 39 again," he said. "Not for me, for him." Then the doors slammed shut, and the van drove away into the fog, leaving the warden frozen, uncertain whether the nightmare had ended or whether something else had just begun. And that was the night cell 39 changed everything. Not because of what Joker did, but because of what those men swore they saw in the dark. If you want more chilling, emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications, because the next one might just be even darker.